Hello, good morning. It's Tracy at Kett's Books. This is our second Books at Lunchtime installment. Welcome. We are doing these to make sure that even though we're in lockdown, people have access to discovering books that they might not have known about. And we're particularly interested in making all kinds of books accessible for people who might not normally read. This big old stack of books is a category of stories and short stories, and you wouldn't know it because I just go on and on. Just bear with me. Short stories don't get the attention that they should. I recently read this one, which is Louis de Bernière's Labels and Other Stories, and it's just so refreshing to be able to start with a character and have it so carefully developed immediately that you can get the benefit of a fully formed story, conflict resolution character in a matter of 10 or 15 pages. I think it was Hemingway who famously wrote a story of 6 words. That's not very gratifying, but I just thought it would be worth showing you through some of these, because especially if you're buying for someone, or if you're thinking of reading yourself and you just can't tackle a long novel, it's worth considering the story, because there's some really fine writing and they're really satisfying. A couple I want to call your attention to. We keep some of a series in the shop called Quick Reads, which is books that are written for people who are returning to reading or who haven't ever really built their confidence. They're written by really recognized, popular, accomplished writers. They're about 100 pages long. So this is by Candice Cartier-Williams for Queenie, and they're really a solid read, and the print is not too small, and there's something that if you are a practiced reader you could read in a lunchtime, but actually they're really worth knowing about, because even the price at £1, they are a not-for-profit, the reading agency, and it's worth really supporting this cause to make sure that they keep going. Stories are sometimes associated with children. I'll have a quick run through those. So there are all kinds of stories that you could get to read to children, but it's worth keeping something like Enid Blyton's Rotten Rascals or any of the other selections in mind. Good morning, I'm just doing a little film, do come in. So this is worth knowing about, and all sorts of others. Enid Blyton continues to be popular from generation to generation. Zadie Smith, Grand Union on the other end of the scale. Oh, I wanted to show you these. If you are interested in getting your children into just like My Ladybug, it's all right. Welcome. Good morning. If you are interested in introducing your children to classics, but you're not sure that they're going to be ready for it, a good way to go is reduced versions. I had a gentle debate with someone a few days ago, and it comes down to actually, do you want the child to be exposed to the story and fall in love with it and want to know more when they're older, or do you want to give them the original and put them off for life? Because some of the classics are in language that especially an inexperienced reader child would not immediately warm to. So we love the Usborne Illustrated Classics, and this has 6 classic novels but reduced so that the story comes across, and they're beautifully illustrated, so they're really worth keeping in mind. The sun is shifting so quickly. There's also, interestingly, gender swapped fairy tales. Now this is not about gender changing, but it's about just having the princess save the prince. It's a really interesting concept, and apparently if you read it just in terms of reversing the roles, so he's in distress and she comes along and saves him, apparently it gives a different reading altogether to it. So you've got Jacqueline and the Beanstalk, Gretel and Hansel, Mr. Rapunzel, the Sleeping Handsome in the Wood, Frau Rumpelstiltskin. I bet Margaret Atwood would have something to say about Frau Rumpelstiltskin. That would be interesting. So that's that one, just to have in mind if you want something different particularly for people who may think they've read everything that is newly published. What else have we got? This one's interesting too, in a similar vein. Apparently when Grimm came round and started collecting all the fairy stories, some necessarily got edited out, some of the traditional tales rather, and this collection, put together by some names you'd recognise, like Davy Johnson, Emily McBride, Emma Glass, Kirsty Logan. They've rewritten some of these stories for the modern reader. Not very long, but again something that you can dip in and out of. I completely misjudged this book by its cover. It's called Last Christmas, and it looks a bit supermarket magazine, I thought, but actually I misjudged it. It's actually a book of stories, reflections by personalities like Graham Norton, Stephen Fry, Meryl Streep, Olivia Colman, Bill Bailey, Emilia Clarke, Caitlin Moran, people who have been homeless, political refugees, and many others. And these are their reflections on Christmases and what that means to them. So I would find that really interesting, actually, just to see some of the personal stories behind these people who we get to know for the character on television or in writing. Murder at Christmas, always done really well. Don't know why we want to kill each other at Christmas, or maybe.
Really?
But we read about it anyway. There are so many story compilations at Christmas that are about sort of classic murder, so your kind of Poirot era or nostalgia, your Thursday night ITV kind of thing. So here we've got Murder in Midwinter, and these are stories, again, classics by Dorothy Sayers, Cyril Hare, Arthur Conan Doyle, Ruth Rendell. So they're going to have a very, they're going to have a lot of retro atmosphere, a lot of nostalgia. And look at this cover. Oh, and we've got the light shining on it. Look at how that glimmers. So this is Val McDermid's Murder Christmas. You know, she can't write anything bad. So that's another one that's really worth knowing about. And that's a bit more gifty, hardback. Look at the back. That beautiful woodcut. That is only £10. So that is a really nice book for not very much money. I talked about this, Labels, beautiful writing by Louis, but even though the stories are only 15 pages each, I would recommend it for an experienced reader. There's a lot of magical realism and suspension of disbelief in it. And then finally, the golden age of British short stories, 1890 to 1914. So again, if you're looking for something really gifty, this is a £25 hardback, and it goes to nearly 600 pages, but it is a proper gift if that's what you want. So we've gone the full range from a £1 book of 100 pages to a 600-page book of 25 pages, but all of them feature little stories that you can get through in a sitting. So, and you could even read aloud together. So really worth keeping in mind as you're exploring your Christmas shopping. Or any other reading. We are doing click and collect. That's why this shop is starting to bustle, and we will look forward to seeing you. Bye.